Alright, so here's a little bit of a funny story from my childhood. When I was a kid, I stole a SpiderMan DVD from school, and I somehow managed to get away with it. I don't know how, I just did. This must have happened at some point back in like the early 2010s, maybe like very early 2010s, maybe very late 2000s, but I think more likely this was like very early 2010s, like maybe like 2010, 2011, I'm not sure. I find this to be funny and depressing at the same time, but this is the only memory that I have of this specific school. I genuinely have no other memories of this school, of my time attending this school. The only thing that I remember about it is this stupid story with Spider-Man. Whatever friends I had at that time when I attended that school, I don't remember them at all. And chances are they don't remember me either. Well, there you go. This was supposed to be a funny story. I think I've now made it extremely depressing just like that. God damn. But getting back on topic, every day at this school, obviously I would have the same like normal different subjects that one would usually have while they're at school, you know, math and science and social studies, you know, that sort of thing. However, there was one specific class that we would attend, and I don't remember if this was like a daily thing, like if we went here every single day, or if this was like only on certain days of the week we would go here. I don't remember at all. Remember, this was back in the very early 2010s. I was a stupid baby at the time. I'm not gonna remember any of this stuff. Honestly, it's kind of a miracle, the fact that I remember this whole I stole a Spider-Man DVD from school thing. But there was this class that we would attend, and I don't remember what the actual class was about. I don't remember like what we were learning there. The most that I remember was that it took place in this computer room of sorts. Now, we didn't do any like actual work on the computer. This wasn't like online class or anything like that. Again, this was early 2010s. I don't think online class was definitely nowhere near as big or common as it would become later on. We wouldn't use any of the computers. We wouldn't do any work at all, actually. Most of the time we go into this computer lab to watch this really obscure cartoon that's like this is like such a specific thing from my childhood, and I know damn well none of y'all watching this are gonna know what the hell this is, but there was this cartoon that came out in like 2008 or so, 2009, which, I mean, that just further proves that, yeah, this took place in the very early 2010s. There was this cartoon that came out around that time called Little Amadeus. It's about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart as a kid. And most of the time, whenever we went into this computer lab to watch something, it would be this Amadeus cartoon. As far as I'm concerned, this wasn't like a music class or anything like that. I didn't have a music class in my school. So in retrospect, it really confuses me why we watched this Mozart cartoon if we weren't learning about music or anything like that. The fact that you have this extremely obscure cartoon that I guarantee you none of y'all have ever heard of, I think just adds to the story. If this was like Sesame Street or Dora the Explorer or whatever, something that like everyone knows, then like, yeah, this would hit nowhere near as hard. The fact that it's specifically this really obscure show, I think makes the story even funnier. I got bored one night, I decided to look up this show, and I ended up finding a few YouTube videos of it online. Apparently the whole show is available to watch on YouTube, just like that. There's a part of me that wants to make a video going over this show itself, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Besides the novelty of this being an extremely obscure cartoon vaguely from my childhood, just barely from my childhood, I don't think there's anything noteworthy to say about this show. I don't think this is gonna be like search for the worst cartoon material or anything like that. For all I know, this show is probably just, it's harmless and inoffensive, it's probably mediocre and that's it, but, you know, it's not the worst thing ever made. However, here is where things get very interesting. As I mentioned before, most of the time we went into this class, we would watch this obscure Mozart cartoon. However, there was like one instance, at least one instance, where we attended this class and they had us watch something else instead. I don't remember if this was like a one-off, one-time thing, or if this was like something that happened on rare occasions, I'm not sure. But there was this one specific instance where we attended this class. The students and I, we went into this computer room and we sat down to watch something, and instead of it being this Mozart cartoon, it was a Spider-Man cartoon. Now for a little bit of background information on this show, this was a short-lived Spider-Man cartoon from 2003. Spider-Man the New Animated Series, I believe it was referred to as. I'm well aware that Spider-Man has had his fair share of cartoons before in the past. I'm well aware that like there's that one show, Spectacular Spider-Man, that's like specifically like that one particularly is widely beloved. I've never seen it, but I'm sure it's a great show. I don't doubt it. But that's not the show that I watched in this class. It was this obscure, I guess not really obscure, but also not very popular either. You know, it's kind of hard for something based on one of the most popular characters of all time to be obscure. It's this like not very well known, forgotten, I think that's the better word to use than obscure, forgotten, short-lived Spider-Man cartoon from 2003. I have no idea if the show is actually good or not. I have no idea if this is like an underrated gem of a cartoon or if there's a good reason why it didn't last very long. I have no idea at all. I'm not here to talk about the quality of the show. I'm here to talk about a funny story that I have relating to this show. Now, because this show didn't last very long, it only lasted one season, I guess the school had like this complete series DVD that had 2 discs in it. It was a 2-disc set. And so we ended up watching disc 1. They put on disc 1 for us, for the students. And I guess I loved this show a lot when I watched it in this class. I guess I was just genuinely invested in what we were watching. I thought like, holy crap, this is like the best cartoon I've ever seen. I don't know. I wanted to watch more of this show. I don't know how many episodes we watched. I don't know how many episodes this show had, nor do I know how many episodes we ended up watching on disc 1 on this specific day. But I knew damn well, my stupid idiotic child self knew damn well that the next time we would attend this class, we would most likely go back to watching this fucking boring Amadeus cartoon. And I was like, screw that, I want to see Spider-Man. And so, I guess like shortly before we left the class, I somehow managed to sneak up to the DVD case, and I open it up, and I take out disc 2 of the DVD set, and I put it into my pocket. And then that's it. We leave the class just like that. Something that I want to bring up in addition to this is, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with stealing shit from my school. Like, not even just from this school, but from other schools like kindergarten, stuff like that. I would be obsessed with stealing random crap that they had. I don't know why. Like, I remember like attending kindergarten and they would have these like colored blocks, and I would try and steal as many of them as I could. I would put in as many of these into my pocket as I possibly can. I remember we had these like little colorful toy bears. I don't remember anything about them. I'm gonna like look them up, and I'm gonna try and find a picture of them, and I'm gonna put up a picture for it on screen if I can find it. But you had these like little toy bears, and I remember stealing some of these, but I feel like this Spider-Man DVD was next level. Shortly before we would leave the class, I sneak up to the DVD case, I take out disc 2, I put it into my pocket, and then we get out of the class, and that's it. I got away with it. They never questioned what happened to disc 2 or anything like that. There was no like teacher or principal or whatever that came into like a later class and they were like, have any of you seen the disc 2 of this Spider-Man DVD? Nothing like that at all. It's dismissal time. My mom and dad pick me up, and that's it. I got away with it. Like it's a f***ing Grand Theft Auto heist or something like that. I got away with stealing this Spider-Man DVD from school. And now, from the comforts of my home, I could be able to watch the remaining episodes of this Spider-Man cartoon to my heart's desire. The next day I go to school, no one acknowledges it at all. There was never like any like search, follow-up, or anything like that. I'm pretty sure every subsequent time we would attend this class, we would watch this Amadeus cartoon. For all I know, maybe they intended for us to watch more of this Spider-Man cartoon. Maybe for the next day, the next time we attended this class, I'm not sure. But because I stole disc 2, we had to stick with this Amadeus cartoon. And they never questioned it, nothing like that. I got away with it, plain and simple. And you want to know the craziest thing? I still have this f***ing disc in my possession. Honest to God, I still have this thing in my possession. There you have it. There is proof that this isn't a fake story or anything like that. All these years later, and I still have this DVD in my possession. Do I regret stealing this DVD? Nah, not really. You know, kids do stupid shit all the time. I will say though, I do find it crazy, the idea that like, if it weren't for this whole thing, I would completely forget about this school. I would completely forget about it. I have no other memories of this school besides this one specific thing, which, in all fairness, this was back in like the very early 2010s, but like, no, not even that. Like, I have memories of kindergarten. I have memories of preschool. I have memories of like, you know, attending different like schools and whatever from before this one specific school. Memories from like earlier in kindergarten and preschool. I have memories for them, and then for this, it's like, I remember this Spider-Man thing, and I remember nothing else from it. I'm not gonna lie, I am curious to check out this Spider-Man cartoon itself at one point. Maybe I'll get the complete series DVD for it, I don't know. Maybe I will finally watch every episode of the show, after years of watching only half of the show on this one disc. And I can't wait to see if it was justified, the fact that I stole this disc or not. I gotta be honest though, in the event that this show ends up being bad, in the event that this show ends up being poorly aged, in the event that I watch this show and I think, wow, this kind of sucks actually, this is nowhere near as good as I remember it being, in the event that any of that ends up happening, that's just gonna make this story even funnier. The idea that like, you have this crappy cartoon over here, and it's like, I thought this was the coolest thing ever when I was a kid, and I end up stealing a f***ing disc of it from school, and I managed to get away with it somehow. That is the funniest thing to me. In the event that the show ends up being actually good, if this ends up being like an underrated gem, a show that deserved better, whatever, you know, the story is still gonna be funny, either way. It doesn't matter. But yeah, that's just a weird, funny story that I just wanted to go over in a quick video. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see y'all next time. Adios!